My name's Liam. I'm 29 years old, and I swear, nothing could have prepared me for the man who stepped into my Uber that day. I was parked outside a luxury hotel downtown when I saw him, perfectly tailored navy suit, silver hair slicked back, and eyes hollow, like someone who had stared into the abyss and never looked away. At first I thought, rich guy, probably rude. Let's just get this over with. But man, I had no idea what was coming. He climbed in, gave me a quick nod, and muttered, "Airport, Terminal 3. His voice was calm but heavy, like every word carried decades of pain. As I pulled into traffic, silence filled the car. But after a few minutes, he glanced at the photo on my dashboard, the one of me and my little sister, laughing like fools at a carnival. "You close with your family?" he asked, barely above a whisper. I chuckled. "Yeah, pretty close. She's my rock." He stared out the window for a moment, then sighed. "Good. Never take that for granted." His tone caught me completely off guard. Not condescending, not arrogant. It was broken. I couldn't help myself. "You okay, man?" He didn't answer right away, just stared straight ahead. Then, like something snapped inside him, he said, "My name's Vincent, Vincent Hale. I spent 35 years building my empire. Real estate, tech, hotels, you name it, I owned it." His fingers fidgeted with his wedding ring like it was the only thing anchoring him to reality. "I was always busy. Meetings, deals, dinners, telling my wife, just one more quarter. Telling my kids, Daddy's working to give you the best life." His voice cracked. I thought there'd be time later. My throat tightened. "What happened?" His eyes glazed over. 3 years ago, they were driving upstate. My wife, my son, he was 8, my daughter, 5. A drunk driver crossed the line. He paused, swallowing hard. They never made it. Silence. Crushing. Suffocating. "I missed it all," he whispered. "First steps, soccer games, bedtime stories. I traded their childhoods for boardrooms." I felt my hands tremble on the steering wheel. I didn't know what to say. What could anyone say? Vincent let out a hollow laugh. "Funny, isn't it? You think money buys you time, but it doesn't. It buys regret." We stopped at a red light. For a moment I glanced over at him, not seeing a millionaire, not a powerful businessman, but a father drowning in guilt. And then he said something that hit me like a punch to the gut. "Promise me something, kid. Whatever you do, never sacrifice what's priceless for what's replaceable." His words echoed in my head. I hadn't even realized my hands were gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles had turned white. And that was just the beginning. The moment we pulled onto the highway, something shifted. Vincent leaned back, but his eyes, they never rested. He stared ahead like he was watching ghosts dance on the windshield. "I don't usually talk about this," he said quietly. "Most people, they wouldn't understand." I glanced at him. "Try me." He chuckled, but there was no joy in it. "You know, when you're chasing success, it feels like a noble cause. Providing, building, securing the future. Everyone pats you on the back for being driven, for being relentless." His voice darkened. "But no one tells you the truth, that the future might never come." I swallowed hard, not knowing what to say. "You know the worst part?" Vincent continued. "I convinced myself I was doing it for them. Every late night, every missed recital, every birthday spent on a conference call. I told myself, one day, they'll thank me." He wiped at his eyes but kept looking straight ahead. But that one day never came. The weight of his words sat heavy between us. I glanced at the rearview mirror, half expecting the air itself to shatter. Then, after a long pause, he reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out something. A tiny, worn-out drawing. 2 stick figures, one with long hair, one shorter, standing next to what looked like a crooked house with a sun drawn in the corner. "My daughter made this," he said, his voice barely holding together. "She gave it to me the morning before they left. I barely looked at it. I was late for a meeting. I shoved it in my briefcase and forgot." His fingers trembled as he stared at it. "I found it 2 weeks later, after the funeral. My chest tightened so hard it hurt. I would have given up every dollar, every building, every damn trophy on my office shelf, just to go back to that morning, just to kneel down, look her in the eyes and say, "Daddy loves you. Thank you." Silence again, the kind that swallows the world whole. Then he looked right at me. For the first time since he got in, he really looked at me. "You got anyone in your life, kid? Anyone who's waiting for you? Depending on you?" I nodded. "Yeah, my sister. It's just the two of us now." He nodded slowly. "Then listen carefully. Don't make the mistake I made. No meeting, no paycheck, no dream is ever worth more than a single laugh, a hug, or a conversation with the ones you love." I swallowed, my hands tightening on the wheel. "You know, I've been working extra shifts lately, trying to save up for something. I don't even know what anymore." He smiled, but it was a sad smile. "Trust me, you already own the most valuable thing in the world, time with the people you love." As those words hung in the air, the highway stretched out in front of us, and for the first time in a long time, I started wondering if I was really chasing the right things. We kept driving through the city's outskirts, the sun dipping low, casting long shadows across the pavement. Vincent stayed quiet for a while, lost in his thoughts, or maybe haunted by memories. I didn't want to break the silence, but something inside me pushed me to ask the question that had been burning. "Vincent, how do you live with that kind of regret?" He laughed, but it was hollow, the kind of laugh that sounds like crying. "Some days you don't. You just survive, go through the motions. I used to think burying myself in work would numb the pain. It doesn't. It just makes the silence louder." He looked out the window, eyes wet with unshed tears. "There's a part of me that wants to scream at the world. Why them? Why my family? But screaming doesn't bring them back." I swallowed, feeling the weight of his grief settle in the car like a heavy fog. "Then what keeps you going?" I asked. Vincent paused, then looked me dead in the eyes. "Promise me this. Never let regret be your last word. Learn from my mistakes. Tell the people you love that you do, every single day. Don't wait for a tragedy to remind you." I nodded, words failing me. Instead, I reached for the radio, turning on a soft song, something to fill the silence with hope, not sorrow. As the melody played, Vincent's voice softened. I started volunteering at a children's hospital, helping families who are going through what I did. It's not much, but it gives me purpose. Maybe that's what I need, to make peace with the past by helping others hold on to their present. His story was breaking me down, but also building me up. I felt like I was sitting next to a man who had lost everything, and yet somehow found a way to keep fighting. When we finally pulled up to the airport, Vincent looked at me with tired eyes but a faint smile. "Thank you for listening, Liam." For a moment, I forgot I was alone. I nodded, feeling a mix of gratitude and sadness. "Thank you for trusting me." As he stepped out, I realized this ride wasn't just about a millionaire or his tragic past. It was about the reminder that we all have something precious worth holding on to. I started the engine again, feeling the echo of his words inside me. Never sacrifice what's priceless for what's replaceable. The days after that ride, Vincent's words haunted me like a relentless echo. Every time I picked up a new passenger, I found myself wondering about their stories, their regrets, and what they held most dear. I kept thinking about that drawing Vincent showed me, the crooked house, the stick figures, the sun in the corner. It wasn't just a child's doodle. It was a symbol of something real, something fragile, something worth protecting. One afternoon, while waiting for a ride request, I pulled out my phone and called my sister. It was a simple thing, but I hadn't done it in weeks. She answered on the second ring, surprised but happy to hear my voice. We talked for over an hour, about everything and nothing. I told her about Vincent, about his loss, his regret, and the lesson he wanted me to learn. She laughed softly. "You've got that look now, Liam. Like you're seeing the world different." Maybe I was. That night, I went home and dug out old photo albums, pictures of us growing up, birthdays, holidays, lazy afternoons in the backyard. I realized I had been so busy chasing money, side hustles, and dreams that I forgot to savor the moments that mattered most. Vincent's story wasn't just a cautionary tale. It was a wake-up call. And so, I made a promise to myself. No matter where life takes me, I would never let work, ambition, or distractions steal the time I had with my family. Because some things aren't replaceable. If you're listening to this, I hope you hear it too. Don't wait for tragedy to teach you what matters. Hold close the people you love. Laugh more. Talk more. Be there. Because at the end of the day, that's the only thing that lasts. If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. There's more rides, more lessons, and more moments like this coming your way. Days turned into weeks, but Vincent's story stayed with me, shaping how I saw every trip, every passenger. The city felt different now. Like beneath the surface rush, there was a deeper current of stories, struggles, and silent lessons waiting to be heard. One evening, just as I was about to log off for the night, my phone pinged with a new request. The name popped up. Vincent Hale. My heart skipped. Was it the same Vincent? Why would he call me again? I accepted the ride, nerves buzzing as I waited at the pickup spot. When he appeared, there was a softness to him I hadn't seen before. Like maybe sharing his story had lifted a weight, even if just a little. He slid into the passenger seat and smiled faintly. "I owe you one, Liam," he said. "You listened when no one else did. It helped more than you know." We didn't speak much on the way. But at the red light, he looked over and said something that stuck with me. "Don't just promise yourself to be there for your family. Live that promise every day. It's the only way to truly honor those we've lost." I nodded, the words settling deep in my chest. That ride felt like a full circle. A man broken by loss, teaching a kid how to cherish the time he still had. As Vincent stepped out, I realized that sometimes the most valuable passengers aren't the ones paying the fare, but the ones who leave you with something you can never forget. I never expected a simple Uber ride to change how I looked at my life. Vincent's story kept replaying in my mind, like a warning and a gift wrapped in one. That week, something unexpected happened. I started noticing little moments. The way my sister laughed when she got my texts, how the sunlight hit the kitchen in the mornings, the smell of coffee on a lazy Sunday. I realized I had been living on autopilot, always chasing the next thing, the next dollar, the next big break. But Vincent's pain reminded me what was truly at stake. One night after finishing my shift, I called my sister again. This time we didn't just talk, we made plans. A road trip, just the two of us. No distractions. No work. The next day, as I waited for my next passenger, I felt lighter. I was ready to face the city, the stories, and whatever else came my way with a new perspective. That's when the ride request came in. A young mother and her two kids, laughing and excited for a day at the zoo. As I helped them load their stroller into the trunk, I caught myself smiling. Because for the first time in a long time, I wasn't just a driver. I was a witness to life. Messy, beautiful, and fragile. And I was grateful for every second. If you're still with me, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next part of this journey. There's more ahead. That ride with the young mother and her kids stayed with me longer than I expected. Their laughter echoed in my mind like a soundtrack reminding me of what I'd almost forgotten. The next few days, I found myself making small changes. I stopped scrolling mindlessly on my phone and started reaching out to people. Family, friends, even old acquaintances I hadn't spoken to in years. One afternoon, I picked up a woman named Sarah. She was rushing to a hospital, tears streaming down her face. I didn't ask questions. Sometimes silence speaks louder than words. But then, as we pulled into the parking lot, she turned to me and said, "Thank you for driving me. You don't know how much this means." Her gratitude hit me hard. It reminded me that behind every passenger is a story, a struggle, a moment of vulnerability. Vincent's lesson was unfolding in real time. Life wasn't about the hustle or the grind. It was about connection. That night, I called my sister again. We talked late into the night, sharing fears, hopes, and laughter. I realized that the moments I was saving up for, the perfect time to reach out, the right day to reconnect, were slipping away every second I waited. Vincent's voice echoed in my mind. Never sacrifice what's priceless for what's replaceable. From now on, I decided I wouldn't. It was a rainy evening when I got the ping for a pickup in a quiet neighborhood. The man who got in looked tired, like someone carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. We started talking, and before long, he shared that he was struggling to balance work and family, constantly missing important moments. Listening to him, I thought of Vincent. How many of us chase success, thinking we're doing it for our families, but in the end up sacrificing what matters most? I told the man about Vincent's story, the millionaire who lost everything because he was too busy to be present. His eyes filled with tears. "I don't want to end up like that," he said. "I want to change, but I don't know where to start." I smiled and said, "Start by showing up. Even small moments count." As I dropped him off, I felt something shift inside me. Vincent's lesson was rippling out, reaching strangers through stories and conversations. Driving home that night, I looked out at the city lights and realized that sometimes the most powerful lessons come from the most unexpected passengers. A few days later, I got a ride request from an older woman named Grace. She was quiet at first, but as we drove, she began to open up about her late husband, their life together, the regrets she carried, and the love she wished she'd shown more freely. Her story reminded me so much of Vincent's pain and my own newfound commitment. Grace told me, "Life's too short for what-ifs. I learned to say, 'I love you' every chance I get, even if it feels awkward." I smiled and nodded. That's the kind of courage Vincent wanted me to have. As we pulled up to her destination, Grace took my hand briefly. "Thank you for listening, Liam. Sometimes all we need is someone to hear us." That night I sat with Vincent's words echoing in my mind. Never sacrifice what's priceless for what's replaceable. Every passenger, every story, was teaching me how to live differently, not just to survive, but to truly be. That night, after dropping Grace off, I couldn't shake the feeling that Vincent's story was changing more than just me. It was creating a ripple. A few days later, I picked up a young father rushing home after a long shift. He was exhausted, but his eyes lit up when he talked about his kids. I could tell he was torn, working hard, but feeling like he was missing out. I found myself telling him Vincent's story, not every detail, but the heart of it. About regret, about choosing family over fortune. He nodded slowly. I needed to hear that. I don't want to be the dad who's there but not really there. We talked the whole ride, about priorities, sacrifices, and the real meaning of success. When I dropped him off, he turned and said, "Thanks, man. This ride, it means more than just a trip." I realized then that sometimes the most meaningful conversations happen in the backseat of a car. Vincent's lesson was no longer just his. It was becoming mine. And maybe, just maybe, it was changing others too. The days passed and Vincent's words lingered like a quiet fire inside me. I started paying more attention, not just to my family, but to every person who climbed into my car. One evening, a young woman named Emily got in. She was nervous, clutching a small box. As we drove, she told me she was moving back home after a tough breakup. She felt scared, uncertain about the future. I shared a little about Vincent, the man who lost everything because he was too busy to be present. How that loss taught him the value of love and time. Emily looked thoughtful. "I've been so focused on my career, I forgot to check in with the people who matter." Her voice cracked. "Maybe it's not too late for me." We drove in silence for a bit, the city lights flickering through the rain-soaked windows. When we arrived, she smiled and said, "Thanks for reminding me what really counts." I watched her walk away feeling like that ride wasn't just a trip, it was a turning point. If this story is resonating with you, please consider subscribing. More rides, more lessons are on the way. One afternoon, I picked up a middle-aged man named Marcus. He was tense, eyes darting nervously as if carrying a heavy burden. As we drove, he finally opened up about his strained relationship with his teenage son. "I'm so caught up in work," Marcus admitted. "I barely see him, and when I do, it feels like we're strangers." I told him about Vincent, the millionaire who lost everything because he was never truly present. How regret became his constant companion. Marcus sighed. "I don't want to end up like that. I want to fix things before it's too late." We talked about small steps, being there for soccer games, having honest conversations, listening without judgment. By the time I dropped him off, Marcus looked lighter, like a weight had been lifted. Vincent's lesson was spreading, one ride at a time. The city was buzzing as I picked up a young couple, Mia and James. They were holding hands tightly, their smiles masking the tension between them. As we drove, they confessed they were on the brink of breaking up, caught in the chaos of work, life, and unmet expectations. I shared Vincent's story with them, not the tragedy itself, but the lesson wrapped inside it. That sometimes The biggest mistake we make is taking loved ones for granted. Mia's eyes welled up. I don't want to lose him. James nodded, squeezing her hand. We need to start making time, not excuses. By the time we reached their destination, something in the air had shifted. They looked ready to fight for each other, to choose love over distractions. I realized then that Vincent's lesson wasn't just about loss. It was about hope, about choosing what matters before it's gone. That night, I picked up a woman named Claire. She was quiet, staring out the window like she was miles away. After a while, she told me about her father, how they'd grown apart over the years, caught in a cycle of misunderstandings and missed calls. Listening to her, I thought about Vincent, how his regret was a harsh reminder that time waits for no one. Claire sighed. I wish I could tell him I love him, but I'm scared it's too late. I looked at her and said, it's never too late to reach out. Sometimes the smallest step is the biggest gift. She smiled weakly. Maybe tomorrow, I'll call. As I dropped her off, I felt grateful for the chance to be part of these moments. Fragile, honest, real. Vincent's lesson had become a beacon, not just for me, but for everyone I met. If this story is touching you, please like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts. Your support means the world. It was a quiet morning when I got the request to pick up Vincent one last time. He looked different, lighter somehow, as if sharing his story had lifted a weight off his shoulders. As we drove through the city, he turned to me and said, Liam, you reminded me why family matters, not just in words, but in actions. He paused, then smiled, a real, genuine smile. I started a foundation in my kids' names, helping families who are struggling to find time together. It's my way of making peace. I nodded, feeling the full circle of this journey. Thank you, he said softly, for listening, for reminding me, and now, you, to never sacrifice what's priceless for what's replaceable. As he stepped out, I realized this ride was more than just a trip. It was a lesson about love, loss, and the true meaning of success. And for me, it was the beginning of a new chapter, one where I choose presence over perfection, family over fortune. If this story moved you, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. Let's carry this message forward, because none of us can afford to wait. That's the full story. Would you like me to help with anything else?